Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you're just tired of forcing yourself to care about a life that doesn't feel like yours anymore. Maybe the reason you can't get motivated isn't because you're weak, or undisciplined, or broken. Maybe something deeper in you is exhausted. Not just your body, your spirit, your attention, your hope. The part of you that used to get excited about things. The part of you that used to dream without immediately explaining why the dream was unrealistic. The part of you that used to feel connected to your own life. And now, you wake up tired. You scroll because it's easier than feeling. You avoid things you know you need to do. You tell yourself you'll start again tomorrow, and when tomorrow comes, you still feel heavy. So you start calling yourself lazy. But laziness is not always what it looks like. Sometimes what looks like laziness is grief. Sometimes it's burnout. Sometimes it's disappointment that never had anywhere to go. Sometimes it's your nervous system saying, I can't keep pretending this is fine. And sometimes it's your soul saying, I miss you. Because there is a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. The kind that comes from saying yes when every part of you meant no. The kind that comes from smiling through things that quietly drain you. The kind that comes from becoming very good at surviving, but forgetting what it feels like to actually live. You can rest for 8 hours and still wake up tired if your life requires you to abandon yourself every day. You can take a day off and still feel empty if what you really need is not a break from your schedule, but a return to yourself. And that's the part we don't talk about enough, because the world is quick to tell you to be more productive, to wake up earlier, work harder, stay consistent, push through, build discipline, and sometimes discipline others. Sometimes showing up matters. But there are seasons where pushing harder only pushes you further away from yourself. There are seasons where the problem is not that you need more motivation. The problem is that your motivation has been buried under years of pressure, performance, and quiet self-betrayal. Maybe you're tired because you've been carrying a version of yourself that was never meant to be permanent. The version that keeps everyone comfortable. The version that says, I'm fine. The version that knows how to function but not how to feel. The version that knows how to achieve but not how to rest. The version that keeps going because stopping would mean admitting how much it hurts. And maybe that version of you deserves compassion, not judgment, because it got you here. It protected you. It helped you survive things you didn't know how to name at the time. But survival is heavy when you never get to put it down. And after a while, your soul starts to speak in the only language you'll listen to. Exhaustion, numbness, resistance, a quiet loss of interest in things you thought you wanted. Not because you don't care about anything, but because you may have spent too long caring about the wrong things, or caring in the wrong direction, or caring for everyone except yourself. So when you feel unmotivated, ask a deeper question. Not, what is wrong with me? Ask, what am I tired of pretending? What part of me have I been ignoring? What am I forcing myself to want? What would I choose if I wasn't trying to prove anything? Because sometimes your lack of energy is not a flaw. Sometimes it's feedback. Sometimes it's the most honest part of you refusing to keep walking down a road that no longer feels true. And that can be scary. Because if you stop calling yourself lazy, you might have to admit that something in your life needs attention. Not destruction, not drama, not burning everything down overnight, just attention. Honest attention. The kind that says, I can't keep living disconnected from myself and expecting to feel alive. Maybe you don't need to become a completely different person. Maybe you need to come back to the person you were before you learned how to perform. Before you learned to shrink your needs. Before you learned to call your dreams unrealistic. Before you learned to measure your worth by how useful, available, productive, or agreeable you could be. There is still something alive in you. Even if it feels quiet, even if it feels buried, even if you haven't heard from it in a long time. The fact that you're tired does not mean you're failing. It may mean you're finally starting to feel the cost of living out of alignment. And feeling that cost is painful, but it can also be the beginning of coming home. Not all at once, not perfectly, but slowly. One honest choice at a time. One no that protects your peace. One yes that actually feels true. One moment where you stop asking, How do I become who they need me to be? And start asking, what would feel real to me? You are not lazy for needing meaning. You are not lazy for feeling heavy in a life that keeps asking you to be lighter than you are. You are not lazy because your soul is tired. You are human. And maybe your tiredness is not here to shame you. Maybe it's here to slow you down long enough to hear what you've been avoiding. Maybe it's asking you to stop performing wellness, stop performing ambition, stop performing okayness, and finally tell yourself the truth. You don't have to fix your whole life today. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. But you can begin here, with honesty, with gentleness, with the quiet courage to admit, I am tired because something in me wants to live differently. And that's not laziness. That is your soul asking to be remembered.